Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, we'll tell you how new variants of the coronavirus may affect the battle against the pandemic. And then an update on the condition of Tiger Woods after a serious car accident earlier this week. And later, what Governor Northam is doing to change COVID restrictions in Virginia. Later in the show, we'll tell you about some of the long-term effects of even mild coronavirus cases. And then Sean Lee will break down the sports world from local sports returning to professional leagues in full swing. All that and more coming up next on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Rockbridge Report. I'm Jack Hunter. I'll be joined later by my co-anchor Shauna Muckle, then by Andrew Arnold for weather and Sean Lee for sports. On the COVID-19 front, there's good news and bad news. The good news, across the U.S., the number of new daily cases is still on the way down, and more Americans are getting vaccinated. The bad news, variants of the virus could cause a surge in just weeks. And as Britt Conway reports, vaccine manufacturers are stepping up their game as health experts step up their pleas for Americans to stick with critical safety measures.
It is the worst I have ever felt in my life.
Bree Smith thinks she got COVID-19 while she was shopping. Her story is one of millions at this point. The daily count of confirmed cases is going down, but medical experts say we're not out of the woods.
We have to keep our eye on the ball.
This is the ball, the UK variant. The CDC says the US could see a surge in cases because it spreads more easily, and it could end up becoming the predominant variant here by mid to late March. The good news? Studies have shown it may be responsive to the vaccines on the market right now, but that's not the case with every variant.
They may be more contagious, they may be more lethal, and now we're worried that the vaccines may not be as effective against them. So we're going to have to monitor this very, very closely.
The head of the CDC says efficacy is something the agency is looking at.
These vaccine responses are not as neutralizing against variants.
So vaccine manufacturers are stepping up their game. Moderna has designed an updated version of its vaccine for primary use and as a booster. Pfizer says it's laying the groundwork for a booster too. And there's new data that shows the Johnson & Johnson vaccine works better against the South African variant than data initially suggested. Experts say case numbers will likely fall again by summer. But until then,
one of the most impactful things we can do is wear a mask.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Republicans are closing ranks against the Democrats' proposed $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill, even as the White House seemed to rule out a procedural Senate power play to protect one provision most treasured by progressives, a minimum wage hike. Despite paper-thin congressional majorities, Democratic leaders are poised to push the sweeping package through the House on Friday. They are hoping the Senate, where changes seem likely, would follow quickly enough to have legislation on President Joe Biden's desk by mid-March. A New York prosecutor has obtained copies of Donald Trump's tax records after the Supreme Court this week rejected the former president's last-ditch effort to prevent them from being handed over. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office enforced a subpoena on Trump's accounting firm within hours of the Supreme Court's ruling on Monday and now has the documents in hand, a spokesperson for the office, Danny Frost, said Thursday. The documents are protected by grand jury secrecy rules and are not expected to be made public. Golf legend Tiger Woods continues to recover in a Southern California hospital following Tuesday morning's grisly car accident. Camila Bernal is in Torrance, California, outside that hospital with the latest on his condition.
The information that we're getting from the doctors here at Harbor UCLA Medical Center is limited, but we have talked to experts who say that those doctors will likely continue their work over the next couple of days because the injuries were significant. Remember that emergency surgery was on the lower part of his right leg, and so they have told us specifically that his bone was broken in multiple parts, that part of that bone was exposed to open air, which means that there's a higher risk of infection. And so the reality is that even though at last check he was awake and unresponsive, Tiger Woods' recovery is going to take some time. In terms of the investigation, the LA County Sheriff specifically saying that this was an accident. He confirmed that investigators are not going to pursue charges against Tiger Woods, and instead they're waiting for information on the black box. They specifically think that speeding was a factor in this crash, but the black box will be able to tell them exactly how fast that car was going and the wheel movements just moments before the crash.
A new generation of local high school sports stars emerged in Buena Vista last Saturday. The Perry McClure High School boys basketball team won its first state championship title in school history. Felicity Taylor was there.
Perry McClure girls basketball won 3 consecutive state titles from 2017 to 2019. The boys finally added a title of their own last Saturday.
Senior captain Talon Roberts said the girls' victories motivated them.
Well, seeing the excitement and the treatment they got from the community, it's definitely motivating.
Junior Spencer Hamilton is a 6'11" power forward who averages 25 points a game. On Saturday, he had 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 block shots. The Fighting Blues were cold in the first half, but they got hot in the second half and beat Alta Vista High School 56-39 in the Class 1A championship. 15 of Hamilton's 17 points came in the second half. Coach Mike Cardellaro added drama to the showdown. He coached Alta Vista to 4 state championships. In 2016, he took the head coaching job at Perry McClure. He said the Perry McClure boys' relationships helped them trust each other and finish the game strong.
They all hung together. You know, it's a great group of guys. It really is. I've not been around a closer group.
The team's success means a great deal to people in Buena Vista.
The community is very close, so I think it'll just make everybody extremely happy.
Fans joined the team to celebrate the win. BV has been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. More than 800 people have been infected with the virus and 12 people have died. But the Blues' win is a bright spot.
It's not just winning, you got to avoid the virus situation as well. So it may have an asterisk beside it, but that asterisk to me means even more than anything.
The boys want to match the excellence of the girls' team. They want to make BV proud.
They were state champions, but tomorrow we're not, so we'll have to get back to work.
3 starters graduate this year. That means next year we'll present the team with challenges, but they have plenty of motivation. The Fighting Blues are practicing for their spring football season. The season starts on Saturday with a home game against Narrows High School. The boys basketball team beat Narrows in the region championship that advanced them to the state tournament, so it's sure to be a good game. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Felicity Taylor. Back to you, Jack.
Thank you, Felicity. Coming up next on the Rockbridge Report, Crawford Humphreys tells us about a company installing new fiber optic cables in downtown Lexington and how the installation could affect local businesses and you.
Beautiful day today in downtown Lexington. More of what you can expect this weekend in my weather report coming up.
Vista is trying again to revitalize its downtown through a community grant from the state. City Council hasn't approved the plan yet, but held a public hearing last week. The city has been struggling for years, but Director of Economic Development Christina Ramsey says she hopes this effort will be the one to finally turn it around. The city hired design consultants from Studio Ammons, who proposed a plan. The plan recommends relocating the library and the creation of a new town square on Magnolia Avenue. A local power company is looking to add a third option for Lexington customers looking for internet service. Crawford Humphreys has the story.
Reliable broadband internet service is a necessity, as seemingly everything in life has gone digital, but it often comes at a hefty price, especially in small towns. In Lexington, national providers Comcast Xfinity and CenturyLink control the market. Local provider BART Connects wants to change that.
We've had an opportunity in where we're building and our project path to be able to come through downtown Lexington, hit that more densely populated area.
BARC plans to begin fiber installation downtown next week.
BARC engineer Randy Roberts says he believes the project will be minimally invasive to businesses and traffic. That's because crews use a process called micro-trenching that creates about an 1.5 inch incision, about the height of a standard ID card, in the road, and thus allows crews to pave it over on the same day.
Mayor Frank Friedman says BARC wants to bring more competition to the area and create lower rates for consumers.
Well, as we get, again, greater competition breeds lower pricing. So I anticipate seeing BARC being very competitive.
Blackwell says increasing broadband access has several benefits for the community.
Broadband solutions really overall help so many different areas, economic development opportunities, enriching education, being able for folks to access direct health care now online.
Now, there have been many mixed reactions from local business owners to the BARC installation project. One told me that she is so dissatisfied with her current provider that she is willing to put up with some construction if it means better broadband service for her company. Another said that as long as it doesn't infringe on any of the major parking lots downtown, then things should be fine. Of course, this is all reliant on BARC maintaining its promise to the city and to the business owners of a minimally invasive and short installation process. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Crawford Humphreys.
COVID-19 has been a part of our lives for more than a year now, but we're still learning about its long-term effects on the body. A new study suggests even those with mild cases may feel some symptoms months later. Mandy Gaither has more.
Most COVID-19 cases are asymptomatic, mild or moderate. But even in those cases, the coronavirus can have lasting effects even months later.
My symptoms are like constantly evolving, and I get the same symptoms again and again, and it's like one will kind of disappear and then others will come up.
More than a year into the pandemic, there's still a lot we don't know about the virus and how it affects those who get it. But a new research letter published in the journal JAMA Network Open says 30% of more than 175 COVID patients the group researched, most of whom had mild symptoms and no hospitalization, still had persistent symptoms up to 9 months later. The most common were fatigue and loss of smell or taste.
We're like rubber bands. We just want to kind of snap back to the way that we were before. So I think that has been one of the biggest challenges. But if people are not able to do that and they keep pushing, that is when the symptoms just do not get better.
Dr. Dana McCarthy works with those suffering from post-COVID symptoms at the Center for Post-COVID Care at Mount Sinai Health System in New York. She says a majority of her patients are in their 20s to 50s, and with time and care, the symptoms recede.
We are seeing patients get better. It's just glacially slow.
Dr. McCarthy says much more research is needed to better understand post-COVID syndrome, including a better understanding of who gets it and how best to treat them. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Local funeral homes came close to calling in refrigerated trucks when Rockbridge County became a hotspot for COVID-19. Michael Lotz, the co-owner of the funeral homes in Buena Vista and Lexington, says in 7 weeks, his funeral homes handled a third of what normal business would be in a year. Since last March, both funeral homes have offered only graveside services to accommodate for social distancing. Lott says his employees now feel more comfortable interacting with the public after receiving vaccines from Carillion Clinic. For more on this story, head to our website at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu, where Avalon Purnell reports. Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced that he will begin loosening some coronavirus-related restrictions. Northam said in a news conference in Richmond that he plans to lift the modified stay-at-home order in place between midnight and 5 a.m. and push the alcohol curfew from 10 p.m. to midnight. Those restrictions, which are part of Northam's current executive order, are set to expire at the end of this month. The changes will kick in at 12:01 a.m. March 1st. Northam said the cap on social gatherings will remain at 10 if an event is indoors, but will be extended to 25 individuals if outdoors. The state's mask mandate will continue. 6 casino developers have submitted proposals to the city of Richmond to be the preferred candidate for a casino resort. The Richmond Times-Dispatch reported that the state capital is one of 5 cities where Virginia will allow legal casino gambling. The Richmond City Council will eventually select a preferred operator. Voters will choose whether or not to approve it this November. Coming up next in the Rockbridge Report, Andrew Arnold tells you if the t-shirt and shorts weather will continue or if you may need a raincoat this weekend. And later, from Generals basketball to Major League Baseball, Sean Lee breaks down the latest in sports.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Andrew Arnold. Eyes were on northern skies after a meteor burned brightly over Canada, and it was all caught on camera. Jeremy Roth has more.
A huge fireball lit up the night skies over Canada and parts of the U.S. Its path was caught on security and doorbell cameras in the wee hours of the night. A meteor's fiery effect happens when rock or other space debris burns up as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. This one was bright enough to be classified as a fireball. According to the American Meteor Society, there were over 400 reports of sightings, mostly from Alberta, Canada. The society received over 100 video recordings of the phenomenon. They say the fireball was also visible in neighboring regions of Canada and Montana.
Here we're looking at a live look of Buena Vista, where you can see the clear skies and sunny weather we've been looking at all day. This has yielded lots of warm temperatures, with a high in Lexington today of 58, low of 34. Barometric pressure is sitting at 30 and 2/10 inches of mercury. Wind speeds at 3 miles an hour and humidity at 26%. Across the state today, there was largely no rain and lots of sunny skies. Currently in Lexington, it's 60 degrees with 58 in Buena Vista. Down south in Lynchburg, 60 degrees, and 54 in Stanton with 62 in Charlottesville. In the western part of the state, Covington with 56 degrees, and in Roanoke, a little bit warmer, 63 degrees. Unfortunately, this beautiful weather will not hold up coming into the weekend. We will be seeing lots of rain on Friday with a high of 44, low of 38, and that rain continuing into the weekend on Saturday with a high of 61, low of 50, and a high of 63, low of 52 on Sunday. Rain showers will cease on Monday morning with a high of 55, low of 32, and partly cloudy skies with a high of 49, low of 38. Last week's harsh winter storms caused vaccine distribution delays across the country. In a county near Memphis, Tennessee, 2,400 vaccines went to waste. And now, authorities are investigating just how that happened. Brandon Richard reports.
How did the Shelby County Health Department allow 2,400 vaccines to go to waste? That's the question an internal investigation is trying to answer. Shelby County Health Department Director Dr. Lisa Haushalter said it was the pharmacist's job to take inventory to track all of the vaccines. And she says access to the pharmacy was limited. And when leadership discovered the problem, it was too late. Haushalter says the health department is working to fix those problems and says 2 employees are no longer in their positions. But it all happened under her watch. So I asked her if she thought she should resign.
There's always opportunities to consider whether one should resign or not resign. So I would say on any given day, that's something I consider. I'm actually at retirement age, so that's something that I should consider and have considered. And so I have made it my responsibility, and it is my responsibility to be accountable for what has occurred.
Shelby County Commissioner Mark Billingsley said his confidence in the health department leadership is dwindling and says others need to step up, specifically Shelby County Mayor Lee Harris.
If you want to be the mayor, you have to have a responsibility. The buck stops with you. If Mayor Harris isn't up to that challenge, then he needs to step aside.
But Mayor Harris says it's the governor who's largely responsible for vaccine problems in Shelby County.
You've got to remember the state of Tennessee is last of 50 states according to the New York Times. And so if you have a state that's 50 out of 50, then someone is not at the wheel. I think that lies at the feet, the doorstep of Governor Bill Lee. I think he's not doing an active job of managing this pandemic.
Harris says he also doubts some of the state's findings, like the 50,000 doses on shelves. Harris says many of those were for teachers and missed appointments.
When we come back, I'll tell you all about the world of basketball, from the Washington Elite Generals to the Washington Wizards. And later, a look at one of the first events of the Tokyo Olympics coming next month. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Sean Lee, and it's time to talk sports. The Washington and Lee men's basketball team continued their return to action last night as they cruised to a commanding 86-65 point victory over Randolph. Sophomore forward Richie Manigault led the way with 22 points. Senior forward Curtis Mitchell grabbed a game-high 13 rebounds to go with 5 blocks, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Mitchell now has 186 blocks in his career, which is just 4 shy of the program record. Women's basketball plays tonight at home versus Shenandoah at 7 p.m., and the wrestling team will also host Shenandoah at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. The men's soccer team will play at Roanoke Sunday at 1 p.m. And Major League Baseball spring training games begin this weekend as games kick off this Sunday. The league will operate on a normal spring training and regular season schedule. Fans will be allowed in attendance at all games at limited capacity and, of course, varying by team. The LA Dodgers come into the season as odds-on favorites to repeat as world champions, but the New York Yankees and San Diego Padres are close behind. And now the story of a man who can't seem to keep himself out of the news, this from ESPN last night. Buccaneers general manager Jason Licht said Wednesday that he and coach Bruce Arians would be, quote, elated if they could get a deal done with quarterback Tom Brady to keep him in Tampa beyond his 2-year contract, which will end after the 2021 season. That would mean Brady plays past the age of 45, but Brady said Super Bowl week that he plans to do just that. And around the NBA, the Golden State Warriors squeaked out a victory versus the Indiana Pacers by a score of 111-107. The Celtics, in shocking fashion, were blown out by Danilo Gallinari's 38 and the Atlanta Hawks 127-112, and they are now currently out of the playoff picture. And the woes continued for the defending champs without Anthony Davis, as the Lakers were blown out by the Utah Jazz 114-89. The Jazz, for their part, continue to be this season's big surprise, as they now have the NBA's best record at 26-6. Closer to home, the 11-8 Washington Wizards will play tonight at Denver. And back to college basketball, 15th ranked UVA's woes continued last night as they lost to an unranked NC State team 68-61. The Cavaliers shot just 37% from the field. Less than 2 weeks ago, Virginia was atop the ACC standings, rising in the AP poll every week and a sneaky candidate to end up as a 1 seed on Selection Sunday. But after 3 straight losses, the Cavaliers are seeing their NCAA tournament seeding fade quickly, and questions are starting to be asked about how deep a run Virginia, a preseason top 5 team, can really make come March. The Cavaliers host the University of Miami on Monday night. And in the latest NFL offseason news, free agent defensive lineman J.J. Watt has received contract offers from multiple teams, league sources told ESPN's Diana Rossini. Multiple sources told Rossini that the most lucrative offer Watt currently has on the table is believed to be worth between $15 and $16 million. The Texans released Watt earlier this month, ending the 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year's decade-long run in Houston. At the time of his release, sources told ESPN that approximately a dozen teams, including the Browns, Steelers, Titans, and Bills, had already expressed interest in Watt. In other news, trade rumors surrounding quarterback Russell Wilson picked up steam this morning. However, it has been reported that Wilson has told the Seahawks that he wants to play in Seattle, but if a trade were considered, the only teams he would go to are the Dallas Cowboys, New Orleans Saints, Las Vegas Raiders, and Chicago Bears. Wilson expressed frustration after the season and stated his desire for more say in the team's personnel decisions. Now let's move to the other side of the world at Tokyo. The Tokyo Olympic Torch Relay is set to begin March 25th under COVID precautions. Torchbearers will need daily health checks for 2 weeks leading up to the relay and must avoid public activities that would risk infection. CNN's Blake Essig has more from Tokyo.
In another sign that the Olympic and Paralympic Games will likely take place this summer, on Thursday, Tokyo 2020 organizers laid out their plan for the Torch Relay. Starting in exactly 1 month, the Torch will begin its 121-day journey in Fukushima before making its way through all of Japan's prefectures. Fukushima was one of the hardest hit areas during the 2011 Great Tohoku earthquake and tsunami, which caused a nuclear meltdown. Now, starting the relay in the region allows Japan the opportunity to highlight the reconstruction and recovery effort that has taken place since the devastating day nearly 10 years ago. Now, 10,000 torchbearers will take part in the relay, and perhaps a sign of things to come during the Olympic and Paralympic Games this summer, masked spectators will be allowed to line the relay route, but have been asked not to cheer and instead to show support by clapping. Now, officials have also asked spectators to avoid contact with people, closed spaces, and crowded areas. Temporary suspensions of the relay could take place if a large crowd forms. Now, the format of the relay could also change depending on COVID-19 restrictions in each prefecture. Blake Essig, CNN, Tokyo.
That's all for today's edition of the Rockbridge Report. For more of the latest news in Rockbridge County and surrounding areas, visit our website at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. Thanks for watching.